All right, man. So look, we did the Six Genius
Okay.
test, and what that is this guy developed. 'Cause this guy has a consulting firm. He does small business consulting. He does large business consulting. He does consulting for large corporations, helping them build teams. And
Okay.
how teams get built is based on differences of their God-given talents, not in trying to find someone that's like you.
Right.
And you need the different people with the different skills, but these skills are not hard skills. They're not your I know pest control, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer. It's not based on those skills. It's based on your basically how you're wired to work and how you work best,
Right.
and what work actually energizes you and what work actually demotivates you, because there's work that actually you feel excited about, and then there's work like you always put off, and you always put it off, and you procrastinate on it, and then when you do it for very short periods of time because it just deflates you.
Right.
And what you have to find out is, why is that? And um it's based on this. We initially had the conversation, say, hey, give me 15 minutes, a couple of, almost a month ago, and I said, you said I want to get some coaching, some consulting, some mentoring, and I asked you, what are the top 3 things you want to get out of the consulting? That was my question. Your first thing out of your mouth was, I want to learn to delegate.
Right.
Okay, and then the second thing is, I want to scale, and the third thing is, I need a marketing plan. So you
Okay.
have a big vision, I can tell, and the first thing you want to do is get out of some things you're doing that you don't want to do. You want to delegate it immediately.
Right.
You just want to get it off your hands.
Right.
That's because usually the first thing out of your mouth is usually what's in your heart.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so those are the things that I look for. Is what is it that you want to accomplish? And then how do I help you accomplish? But when we got into the weeds and in the consulting, we found out a lot of things
Right.
that you're just not going to be in a place where you can delegate an entire um, position, because there's no money to do it
Right.
yet.
Right.
And there is, in order for you to get into a marketing plan, you need money, but a plan is like, how I can make this plan, 15 minutes a day to start out, or I can give you my entire SEO plan and then choke you, and you won't be able to do it unless I actually walk you through the next 2 years.
Right.
Because when we talk about plans, they can be very simple or they can be very elaborate. So
Right.
so a marketing plan for you right now would be something that you can do 15 minutes a day, every single day, but you're not going to see the results for the next 90 days.
Right.
And that, I think, when you're gonna understand why that becomes so taskful for you to even get that done.
Right.
And what I'm going to do is, let me share with you yours. I'm going to do this. I'm going to share yours. I'm going to
Okay.
share mine,
Okay.
and then I'm going to share Eric's, my media marketing, and he's the one that does all the video production, and he does the podcast, and he produces everything for me, and he's going to be coming on full time to take on all the marketing.
Right.
I'm taking that hat off finally. But you got to take either one hat off at a time, or you take off one task of that hat at a time.
Right.
And you might end up with 5 people. Like right now, I have people in Pakistan that do some of my marketing stuff, because it is much cheaper to have them do that task, or those 2 or 3 tasks for me, than for me to have Eric spend weeks on it.
Right.
Because what's going to cost Eric, $1,700-$1,800 to do in-house, I can get it done over there for $150.
Right.
So you got to, before you can learn to delegate, you got to learn to manage. You got to learn which parts you can delegate on, so that you can start getting little things off your plate that you hate doing, that you're not good at, so that you can focus on what you do. But this is going to be so eye-opening for you. You're going to enjoy it. I know I enjoyed it. Let me see if I can share my screen with you. One multiple share, no advanced sharing options. Screen share. I want to screen share. This is what I want to do. Okay, let me see where it's at. It's going to be on that screen. No, hold on a second. Let me get that screen. Let me get that screen up so that it shows up on my. This is your report. Let it load. All right. Okay, where is it? Screen 1. No, that's not it. It's screen 2. Here we go. Or is it screen 3? Here we go. Found it. All right. My eyes are not so good. Let's see here. All right. Are you seeing it? I think everybody.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. All right. Let me see it so I can see it. Where the heck did it go? All right, there it goes. All right. So let me put it over here so that it's in the middle of my camera, so it doesn't look like I'm looking at some odd object in the sky. All right. So here's your 6 working genius. Basically, this is the work that you thrive on, that energizes you.
Right.
And you're gonna, what we're gonna find is that most people that are entrepreneurial, and there's a big difference between being entrepreneurial and being an entrepreneur, is that you're entrepreneurial, you have the potential, but you're not there yet. You haven't become an entrepreneur where you have developed a business that basically runs without you. That's kind of the idea of being an entrepreneur.
Right.
Right now, you're self-employed and you're trying to get out of that.
Right.
So your working genius is wonder and enablement. You are probably most likely a daydreamer.
Okay.
Do you find yourself always in school every time, daydreaming a lot?
I would say somewhat.
Yeah. How long have you been thinking about starting a business for yourself?
Years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not something that you just did because, oh my gosh, I'm tired of working for this douchebag. It's something that's always been in the back of your head.
Right. Absolutely.
Creating. So when you work at a place, you're always wondering, I wonder if we did this, I wonder if we did that, what would happen, kind of deal.
Right.
All
Right.
right. So you're naturally gifted in drive, energy, and joy from pondering the possibility of great potential and opportunity.
Right.
So I wonder how I can scale. I wonder how I can build this big business. I wonder how I can do it, right?
Right.
And you're naturally gifted and derive energy from provide others encouragement and assist in projects and tasks. So do you do coaching?
As far as I did like coach little league football.
Yeah. At
But
church, what do you do?
no coaching. But a lot of people tell me I could be a motivator.
Yeah. So you
Right.
get energy from that. See, it's not about that you're good at it or you have the experience.
Right.
It's what you kind of spend most of your time really pondering and doing, and what, like, people who are analytical are
Right.
trying to figure always out, like why this, and they're analytical about, details, and you and I could never be surgeons.
Right.
We don't have that level of detail. That's why why I'm not a surgeon, why I'm not a lawyer.
Right.
It's just I don't have those natural skills. I was never gifted. So it's kind of like the idea is, why don't we send this kid to college? And why can't, if you come from the traditional Hispanic migrant immigrant family, is I brought you here so that you can be a doctor, a lawyer, and you could be successful and go to college. And I never wanted that. I always wanted to own a business. Since I was
Right.
like 12, 14, I was always entrepreneurial
Right.
as a kid. I was always a daydreamer. I have ADD. I have ADHD.
Right.
You know, to me, it's like my attention span is the attention span of a gnat.
Right.
You know, that's just me. So
Right.
now your working competency, this is what you can do, and you can do it. This is what derives your energy, where you really, you know, focus on. And then the second one is you're capable of and don't mind creating original and novel ideas and situations. Again, you're a wanderer. What happens? But then you want to like, what happens if I created this thing? And you spend a lot of time tinkering with stuff that sometimes leads to nowhere.
Right.
But you get an enormous amount of pleasure. It's almost like a hobby for you
Right.
to tinker with stuff. I know you are capable of and don't mind rallying people and inspire them to take action on ideas and projects. What you're always trying to do is, I have an idea and I wish somebody would come along with me and help me with my idea, because I don't know how to do the idea. I just got the idea. I just need somebody to do the idea. This is why delegating is so right up the top of the thing for you, because you're looking for people to help you. This is why you got your friend in the conversation that you want him to help you with some of the administrative, because he has a business degree.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It all plays into how we're wired. Now,
Right.
where is your working frustration? You aren't naturally gifted and don't derive energy and joy from pushing projects and tasks through to completion to ensure that the desired result is achieved. In other words, this is where you aren't naturally gifted and don't derive energy and joy from using intuition, instincts to evaluate and assess ideas and plans. In other words, when we get down,
Okay.
if I give you my marketing plan, let's say, and I give you that entire marketing plan, there are so many steps along the way that require so much technical ability that would require you to literally go in there and find out what each one of those things mean, and then be able to take what those things mean and then create the detailed plan for it, and then go in and execute it.
Right.
You can do it to a certain level. It depends how deep the level is, and it depends how many steps, and it depends how much you're going to enjoy the learning part. But when it comes down to the actual technical part of getting in there and actually doing it, you will have a very hard time getting this project finished.
Right.
So my idea with you is, let me give you one thing that you can do that requires you to just go in there for 15 minutes a day, do this, and then pull that off. But what will happen over time is, and I know, is, hey, Benjamin, how come you haven't done this in the last 3 days?
Right.
Well, I've just been busy. I haven't had time. Why? Because the task of repeating those menial repetitive tasks eventually become frustrating to you, especially if they don't have an instant result.
Right.
If the result is 6 months down the line, you will become kind of discouraged at doing something every single day that doesn't produce an immediate result. But that's how it is. In other words, I gave you like 5 things that you needed to do. We talked about, and that's a lot, because
Right.
normally I would probably stick to no more than 3, but these were kind of easy. Making phone calls, your website was being, held, you needed to release it, you needed to figure out how you're going to manage your own website, that I can teach you, so that you can get the marketing you need, because you don't have a budget for the marketing. There's no way you can pay somebody $150 a page that it costs to build it, and you need to build about 20 pages. You're
Right.
talking $2,000, $3,000 worth of work that I can teach you how to do yourself. but I just created a course on-page SEO so you can build your local pages, because you need to build out your local pages. And I just finished doing it. It's nine, I think 12 videos on just how to create a post. Very tedious work that requires you to learn and do the details, and then keep doing it once or twice a week. And it won't produce a result for about 6 months or 9 months. It's not going to be instant, but since you don't have the money for marketing, this is your only option. It is something you can do. And what I'm about is not about what we can't do. And even, but that's going to take a long time. I said, yes, but you're got to do it anyway. Your SEO company did it for you. They just didn't take it to the next level.
Right.
And the good news is that, yes, you are ranking. Yes, you are. They did do a good job. They just, for the money they were charging you a month, wasn't worth the ROI to you. And it wasn't something that you could continue to do because you couldn't afford it. It was very expensive because you were expecting a faster ROI on that. That didn't materialize, because that's always the case with SEO, is that they don't tell you that this is a long term for at least 2 years before it really pays you off. The good thing is I analyzed your market, and I know that this will work for you because you don't have an enormous amount of competition.
Right.
And you're doing very well, actually, in the rankings right now. In a lot, they're just not ranking you for the keywords that really matter to drive in the traffic.
Right.
So now let's look at mine and watch this. You ready?
Yep.
Where did mine go? Would you look at that? Working Genius, Wonder and Enablement.
Hey.
Invention and Discernment, and Galvanizing and Tenacity.
Right.
Dude, I built my website, and I did my SEO for 6 years before I could delegate that task. And then I tried to delegate it to 2 agencies. It cost me $30,000 to delegate it.
Wow.
And then they did it wrong. This is why I took it back, and I tried again, and then I delegated a small portion of it, and they screwed it up, and I had to take it back.
Right.
I just delegated the website building, and they screwed it up and tanked my SEO, and I had to take it back. I did it again just now. The person developing my website is 90% done with it. And for the last 2 months, he's had so many problems. He's been holding it, and he can't release it, and he's asking for more money because he needs money. And I said, no, not until you release my site and get it published and it's working. I'll pay you the other half I owe you. So I paid for half of a website that isn't done. Delegating is not easy because you have to be able to absorb the mistakes that they're going to make and be able to eat them when you're delegating. Remember, so this is why I brought it in-house. This is why I rather just hire Eric full-time, where he can produce $10,000 a month worth of content SEO. And right now, my ROI on SEO is better than most people's ads, which is about 3x.
Right.
So if we 3x it, 4x it in-house, what can we do? And then plus we're going to start running ads. So he's going to manage the ads because I already know I'm testing the ads. I already know the ROI I'm getting on those. But I am a guy where the difference between probably you and me is that I have 20 years on you of experience. But we're kind of wired the same. I just figured out long term, a long time ago, what I was really good at, what I enjoy. And this is why I do the things I enjoy, because it derives the energy. Now, I am technically minded. That is different set of skills, because you and I can have the same kind of inner person, but our experiences and our experiences mold us and shape us, where we learn discipline.
Right.
Even though that is not our thing, we have to discipline ourselves to get it done, and then just stick to it and learn to stick to it. And I believe between you and me, being a faith person that we understand these principles, that we still have to be disciplined, even though this is not something that energizes me. I can still figure out a way to do it and be enabled to do it. So it
Right.
is something that you can kind of overcome for a period of time, and you're going to have to. That the idea that, you know, once we look at, you know, I said, hey, I need you to get your accounting done.
Right.
The first thing you did is you delegated that.
Right.
Well, if you don't have any money coming in, really, there's no need for a CPA and an accountant. I mean, I can still run a $1 million business and not have a bookkeeper because I
Right.
completely automated all my bookkeeping.
Right.
So what I'm talking to you about delegating is you can delegate to the software.
Right.
You can get software that assists you to do a task that you particularly find distasteful and don't have the patience to do, where if we automate it, you take that off your plate, but you're saving that money because whatever they were charging you, you know, for 49 bucks a month or whatever, I think it's like 15 bucks a month for QuickBooks. It's like something ridiculous. And then if you want the expanded version, which you don't need, you pay like 49 a month or something, or 39 a month. But you already got pest routes, and you automate that, and you can automate all of your bank accounts and everything. And now you have software that you can delegate to. The idea is, how do we find creative ways to get what we want? Because we won't get 100% all the time. Sometimes we get 80%, sometimes we get 50 of what we really want. It's kind of like hiring. If you hired right now an office person, but you need that office person to answer the phones, do the scheduling, check out on all the billing, do the collections, and then you need them to also sell. What if that person says, I can't sell? You can't teach them to sell. You're going to have to live with 4. What if the person says, you know, the software is so complicated, it's going to take me forever to learn?
Right.
I mean, those are the real challenges, and you have to have, what I'm trying to teach you is you're going to have all your SOPs in place before you can delegate. You got to know what needs to be delegated and how that job is done, because you're not going to be able to go off the street, pick somebody that knows how to do in-house what you know how to do. A lot of the time it's vertical integration. You have to do it in-house, everything, or you can just delegate one task. In other words, can you delegate somebody to answer your phones? Yes. You can't, however, delegate how to sell to your client. You can only delegate the fact that they're going to take the name, address, phone number, email, and somebody's going to get back to you.
Right.
But if you're taking 36 calls a day and you need to be in the field, then you just hire that one task.
Right.
And for a long time, I did that. I hired an answering service 24 hours a day, and they would explain to the client, hey, we're the call center. We're not salespeople. We can't give you a quote. A pest pro is going to call you back.
Right.
80% of people were okay with that.
Right.
I had to realize that I could not answer every call myself anyway. I would lose those calls. 80% of people say, no, I just need someone now. And they're going to hang up with that person. They're going to call the next company and want them out there like right away. And you got to realize that there's a lost opportunity. You know, let me show you Eric's. This is Eric. Eric has enablement and invention.
Okay.
And I'll explain a little bit about Eric and why this works. He has wonder, but he has tenacity.
Okay.
And tenacity is what you need in a person that executes.
Right.
Because you are great at planning and dreaming, and you're great at implementing. In other words, getting it started. But when it gets down to those granular details of getting things finished, you tend to have too many ideas at one time, too many things you started, and then now you've got to decide which one you're going to finish, and you're usually going to finish the one that requires the least amount of tenacity.
Right.
So if you had 15 things in the air, again, this is not describing a particular situation. This is just describing in general how it's going to turn out, because I know.
Right.
I always have 15 plans and ideas and things that I'm doing, and I'm trying to figure out which one is going to give me the best ROI the fastest, because it's almost like I'm lazy. I don't want to really do some hard work sometimes that has to be done. But he's got discernment and galvanizing, which you have, and you have galvanizing. He does not get enjoyment from bringing people together on a team. He works alone.
Right.
Now, the thing is, I know Eric personally because I worked with him 18 years ago.
Okay.
We worked together. But Eric is a true artist. Eric is an artist. He's a webmaster. Eric can do graphic design.
Okay.
Eric can produce music.
Okay.
Eric is a musician. He can play every instrument.
Oh, okay. Nice.
He can write. He can't sing. You know, I give him crap about it all the time. I mean, he doesn't have a bad voice. He can do a great demo.
Right. Gotcha.
But when it comes to the tenacity, this is why he can sit there, wake up one morning, have a vision for a song in his head. The next day he's writing it. And for the next 2 weeks, he's producing the music. He's sitting there playing all the instruments, recording them, laying them out, doing the editing, finish all of that, master it. Then he'll work on the artwork for the cover, and he will turn in an entire project.
Right.
He's very, very unusual person, but don't put him together to talk to a lot of people, even though since the age of 18, he's also been a teacher.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he's 53.
Okay.
We're both the same age.
Oh, okay.
We work very well together because the reason we work so awesome together is we're both creative. But I'm more of the ideas guy of planning and doing a lot. He has no tolerance for risk.
Okay.
This doesn't show you. See, these kind of tests don't show you that. This is why consulting, and when I'm consulting and when we're consulting people, SMB consulting for small individual business owners is very, 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 very difficult, because a lot are probably wired like this, or one combination of it.
Right.
The reason they need consulting is because they're not just pure tenacity and galvanizing and discernment. If they were pure tenacity, galvanizing and discernment up here with invention and wonder as their working component, or a mix of that, they wouldn't need us.
Right.
Because they would figure it out. They work it out. They're detail oriented. They just go to the end. They know exactly what has to be done. If they were that perfect combination, except that perfect combination is rare because it's all about DNA.
Right.
You see, and the DNA cannot be changed.
Right.
All we can do is work, like, in other words, we work our strengths. We try to get better at our weaknesses, but in the end, we have to delegate those weaknesses. So what I need with the work that I have to do with people is help them understand that a lot of what you want is up here, but you haven't worked it out. In other words, you haven't worked out all the details of what you really want and what it's really going to take to get that. Because a lot of it is wonder and ideas in the head of things I would like to do without the practical. In other words, like I told you before, you went from being a technician into being self-employed.
Right.
Thinking that the easy part, the hard part was getting the LLC and the company and the website and all that, not realizing that the hard work now really begins, and the hard work is really up here.
Right.
The hard work is there's no doubt that you're willing to work hard.
Right.
There's no question that you go out and you work 60 hours a week. The thing is, you're working hard at the things you have to do in the business right now. The technical part, there's nobody to do the technical work.
Right.
There's nobody to do the creative. There's nobody to do the marketing. You have to wear all the hats. The thing you have to realize is you're going to have to be tenacious and not only implement, but be able to execute. And this is where when you go to all of the sites, and where are we at? We're at 39 minutes. We're going to quit. When you look at all these consultants that are out there, they're not taking on anybody that already hasn't had two, 3 techs working on over $500,000 to $1 million. Number one, they can't afford their fees.
Right.
Number two, it is too difficult to work with people and coach them and train them and invest time when you know that when it comes to the implementation and it comes to the executing part, they're not going to be able to do it.
Right.
So what we need to do is say, what can you execute on? And what can you actually do? And when does it start become overwhelming for you? And guys like me are more of counselors than we are really consultants.
Right.
Because I have to be able to walk you off those ledges.
Right.
And say, look, you're getting overwhelmed. Let's analyze this. Let's analyze that. It requires an enormous amount of patience, where the ROI is going to be that small, and it's going to be, everything is going to be incremental. What you have to learn is to be patient with you, be patient with the process, because you're not going to be out of that chair. You're not going to be out of that truck and in that chair the way I am here all day long. And I only go out in the field once a week.
Right.
It took me 10 years to get here because, again, my strong suit and your strong suits are the same, but my weaknesses and your weaknesses are kind of the same.
Right.
And what we fail, I have an invention and discernment. I can, the thing is, the discernment part is where I get good at troubleshooting. By nature, I'm a troubleshooter.
Right.
I can look at the parts and see where they fit. The moment I get to about 90% done on that project, I'm already bored with it. This is why I was a good guy turning around stores and turning around businesses, because I enjoyed the challenge. I saw where all the problems were. The
Right.
moment that store was functional and profitable and doing what it was supposed to be doing, I was out of there. I'm done. I'm looking for the next challenge.
Right.
I didn't enjoy managing long term and just staying there, increasing incrementally. Now, that didn't make me an entrepreneur. It made me entrepreneurial. I was an entrepreneur, and I was a darn good manager.
Right.
But I had my skills of capable and don't mind of using intuition to evaluate assets and ideas and plans. I can take a plan, assess it from start to finish, and say, this is probably where it's going to fall apart for you.
Right.
And know that as a coach.
Right.
It's kind of like you sit there as a little league coach and you see the kid who has a natural swing. You see, and you say, okay, he's easier to coach, right? Because he's got a natural swing. But
Right.
what happens when the kid is hard-headed because he also knows he's good, and it gets to his head, and then now you got to deal with that.
Right. Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So yeah, the kid has speed. You can't teach speed.
Right.
You can assess that.
Right.
So those are the things that I so that this opens up your eyes to say how you feel about things is completely natural, because what happens is, even from like the people around you, your spouse or somebody, says you start things, you don't finish, you get involved in so many things, but you don't, stick to one thing.
Right.
It's just the way we're wired.
Right.
The question is, how do you temper that to where I know I need to double down on this at least for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, a month, 2 months. And I realize it, let me double down on this, because this is what's going to give me the result in the long term.
Right.
And the reward is down the line. It's kind of like, you can't eat burgers. A lot of people are overweight because they eat bad. They don't exercise because they're all stressed out and working on their business, and they have no time for that until there's a medical problem, or they can no longer get into that crawl space, and now they want to lose weight instantly because they got bad news.
Right.
Now it's, how hard is it to take that, not buy that burger and buy a salad 2, 3 times a week?
Right.
You see, that's the reality of where you're at and where everybody that's in this group on this. And I think this is why I have them do the assessment,
Right.
because now it opens up their eyes to say, listen, the way you've always felt as a kid and this and that, it's not different. It's not weird.
Right.
This is how you're wired, and this is why you do a lot of what you do. The thing is to be cognizant. Okay, I need to probably change a little bit of this, a little bit of that to make this thing work for me now. Then I know how to do it, and then I can pawn that off because I get no energy from that. And that's
Right.
pretty much it. You still got a bunch of things that I'm
Yes, sir.
monitoring on. Um, the let me know when
Okay.
you're ready. You already know about the site. The question now becomes is getting with them in that meeting on how we're going to be able to migrate it
Okay.
to that, because all you literally have to do is migrate that site to literally the same platform they buy, and move it over here with your credentials, and you own it, and then you can control it. There's going to be like no loss, because I'm not going to try to redo that site. I'm just going to put it on the same development platform so that there's no loss.
Right.
Zero. So when it goes across, there's no loss in SEO, because you got a lot of good SEO juice. I mean, to get a site to be like an 8 on an 8 score is very tough to do, and they did that, and that's very good. I don't want you to lose that by building a new site and starting all over, and that's just BS. And then the other things, the accounting, and this is where it's important, like in that tenacity and thing, that said, okay, let me drill down into the numbers and understand my numbers.
Right.
And then we can get you a big picture without becoming over it, because your P&L is going to be very, very simple. But this is where a lot of people I see from management, they don't have a P&L. They don't
Right.
know where their numbers are. They don't have an idea of really where it should be.
Right.
But I look at, $3, $4, $5, $6 million company P&Ls, and I know what's supposed to be on it
Right.
and what those numbers should look like. And I always had that. The guy that got me onto that, believe it or
Right.
not, who gave me the numbers in the beginning, where I knew where the percentages had to be and all that, was Pete Chopin, when he used to publish his article 10 years ago. Where I knew, but I already knew
Right.
that
Okay.
because I took accounting, and but I just didn't know where the numbers were supposed to be. In other words, what percentage should be chemical, what percentage should be labor, what percentage should be this, and where are we off, and how do we correct it, or how do we take that number and do this? So once you get that done, get that finished, get the other things that we said finished, we can meet again and say, okay, we got it. Let's evaluate it now. Let's understand it. Let's explore it. Because unless we understand that and we know where that is, and you don't know where those numbers are supposed to be. So even if I told you, hey, this is the big picture, you still don't understand where those numbers need to be. So this is
Right.
where that coaching and that, hey, this is what we're supposed to be looking at. Other than that, man, keep going.
Yes, sir.
Keep
Absolutely.
going, keep doing it. We'll get there. It's just going to be, you're going to have to be real patient with yourself.
Right. Yes, sir.
You can't, want it in the next year, unless, like I said, you all of a sudden blow up for some reason, which is very unrare or very rare.
Right.
That happens because you have to acquire the management skills, and you have to acquire the sales skills, and you got to acquire the marketing skills, and you got to
Right.
acquire all these skills that you need. But we can accelerate them. I can just tell you, look, don't go down that path. I know that one for sure is a pitfall. Avoid
Right.
that one, and then at least get you to some nice growth over the next year, so that you can afford to hire your first technician.
Right.
But I need you to have the SOPs in place, and you're not even there yet, where you have no SOPs,
Right.
and we need to work on those. So that's like going to be step by step. But I know you suffer with the tenacity part, so then I got to wait till you get it done, because if I were a salesman, I would say, let's just meet every week, and then I could rack up a bill for you, but you're not getting things done, and all you're doing is telling me how you feel. At that point, I'm your therapist.
Right.
I'm not a consultant anymore helping you move along. I'm just
Right.
listening to you racking up hours for no reason. So I rather you get it done and then we meet and every step of the way. So I'll let you go, brother, because you need to
Okay.
get going. I need to get going. Love
Okay.
you, man.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Love you.
All
Bye.
right. Love you too, brother.